Carson Show. Are you ready to be pod smacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here today. It's been a while. Been kind of a, chaotic week or so on the web for a variety of reasons. Part of it has to do with Facebook. In fact, all of it has to do with Facebook. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today. The reason why I've been doing this, the reason why I've learned this skill set to be able to put together this show with the background and the video clips and my opinions and hopefully my commentary that might even be entertaining to you, because of a man named Terry Littlepage. Terry Littlepage is a gentleman who lives in New Mexico, and he created a network called Liberty One TV. There's not big money behind this. It's his money. Put a lot of money into building Facebook pages and becoming a publisher. Publisher on Facebook, which has been allowed by Facebook. Publishers are people who have put together networks of people and provide programming like this. Last week, for the third time, Facebook crushed conservative publishers. Last week, 800 pages were permanently deleted. Terry Littlepage, who created LibertyOneTV.com and Spreely.com. I'll tell you a little bit more about this in a second. 28 of his pages were taken down. 28 of his pages were taken down. Now, some at Facebook would say this was not political. Oh, it was very political. 28 of the 30 pages that Mr. Littlepage put up had a political bent, a conservative bent. The other two were not. One was a Christian site, is a Christian site, still around, Uplifted Spirits. And another one about animals. Those two were not taken down. Terry Littlepage's conservative political pages were taken down. They were taken down despite Terry Littlepage spending $250,000 of his own money to reach you. Over 13 million followers on these pages wrecked because they were conservative. Now, you're saying Mark Zuckerberg owns this company, Facebook. He has a right to take down whomever he wants. That's fine. Facebook is not protected by the First Amendment. However, if Facebook is going to allow investment into broadcast channels and publishing for all, then they should do it for all. This is a breach of contract. This is an outrage. It is an outrage. Because Terry Littlepage was allowed to believe that he could express himself freely on Facebook with his different channels, with his different pages. Facebook took his money gladly. And then a couple years later decided to change the rules and take his money from him. And take his money from him. When you pay money on Facebook, you pay for reach. You pay to get fans. You pay to reach people. Terry Littlepage paid money to reach people. The content of his pages resonated with people. Facebook decided they didn't like his content and decided to not let him reach people anymore. This website here, Spreely.com, what does it stand for? It stands for Speak Freely. Terry Littlepage has created an alternative to Facebook, an alternative to Twitter, and an alternative to YouTube, an alternative to all of these other sites that are controlled by leftists. Spreely.com is a free speech Facebook. if you would please become a member of Spreely.com. Become a follower. Create a profile. Join us. Join us, please. This is important. Right now, people are starting to move there. We need a massive movement. We need tens of millions of people. And I'm going to tell you something. Doesn't matter if you're left or right. If you have a political opinion, you can express it freely at Spreely.com. All right? I am on Spreely.com at Rob Carson. If you'd like to follow me, that would be cool. Let's get to the news of the day, shall we? Because there's plenty of stuff. I'm not sure exactly, and I don't like using the term blue wave. The Democrat Party leftists have said there's going to be a blue wave since, I guess, the day after Donald Trump was elected. They're convinced that Donald Trump is going to get his rear end kicked in November. Now, there's no basis for this whatsoever. There's no basis for a blue wave. There is nothing attractive about the Democrat Party that would cause people to sweep them into power in the House and the Senate. There's nothing there. Please tell me. Is there anything the Democrat Party going into this supposed blue wave, and I don't like the blue wave bullcrap. It's bullcrap. Red is the color of the Democrat Party. Red is the color of socialism. Red is the color of communism. This blue wave crap came around when Barack Obama was running for president. It was painfully obvious that he was a radical leftist. I think it might have been NBC who created this, that the red states are Republican and blue states are Democrat. So I don't like this blue wave crap. It's a Democrat wave. They're talking about a Democrat wave. And the Democrat Party has done nothing. The Democrat Party in the last couple of years has done absolutely nothing that would create some sort of momentum going into November. Other than, I guess, hatred of Trump, wanting to drive him out of power. And this is the truth. It's about the rejection of Donald Trump's election. That's all it is. This has been one massive temper tantrum from the get-go. And it started the night that all of those Hillary supporters sat and watched with bated breath and expected what they had been told for months and months and months, that she would be crowned president of the United States of America. Every poll said it. Every pundit said it on the left. Most of them on the right said it too. And they can't believe it. They couldn't believe it then, and they can't believe it now. And the day after Donald Trump was elected, the rioting, the protests, the rejection of his leadership began. And soon thereafter, the concept of a blue wave in November of 2018. There's nothing behind it. It's a paper tiger, I guess. It's a faux movement. There's nothing there. There's nothing there except for a vitriolic hate of Donald Trump and a rejection of him as president. The Democrat Party is not offering any sort of vision for the country going forward. They are not offering jobs. They are not offering lower taxes. They're offering higher taxes. Possibly an infrastructure program to help the economy, even though the economy is booming right now. Well, what is the Democrat Party going to do to make the economy better than 4% annual GDP? What is the Democrat Party? Hold on. An article. What is the Democrat Party? This is an article, the 289 accomplishments of the Trump administration in thus far. 173 major wins, like adding more than 4 million jobs, another 116 smaller victories, some with outsized importance, such as the 83% one-year increase in arrests of MS-13 gang members. Okay, so here's some of the things. What is the Democrat Party going to do more than this? 4 million new jobs. More Americans are employed now than ever in our history. Jobless claims lowest in 5 decades. Unemployment claims at 50-year low. African-American, Hispanic, and Asian-American unemployment rates have recently reached record lows. Women's unemployment recently at lowest rate in 65 years. Youth unemployment lowest level 50 years. Let's see, added 400,000 manufacturing jobs since the election. Median household income rose to 61,000 in 2017, a post-recession high. Small business optimism hits historic highs. 95% of U.S. manufacturers are optimistic about the future, the highest ever. $450 billion been poured back into the U.S., including more than $300 billion in first quarter of 2018. $5.5 trillion in gross tax cuts. I mean, hold on. What else? Border security, $1.6 billion for border wall. We heard about the MS-13 thing. I could go on and on and on. 25% on tariff on $50 billion of goods from China. Later imposed an additional 10% tariff on $200 billion of Chinese goods. Tore up NAFTA, replaced it. Moved the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem in Israel. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now that's one. I gave you about 30 of 289 accomplishments. What is the Democrat Party offering you? That could be better than that. And how are they going to make it better than that? How are they going to make it better than that? They can't. Nobody can. Ronald Reagan couldn't. Ronald Reagan turned around an economy that was destroyed by the Democrat Party, and failed president Jimmy Carter, a flailing, desperate leftist. And he was able to turn around the country pretty dramatically. Nothing like this. Now, Ronald Reagan had 2 houses of Congress that were owned by Democrats for 40 years. Donald Trump had a little easier go, although there are a lot of never-Trumpers in the Republican Party. How are the Democrats going to do better than that? How's it going to get better than that? Okay. It's never been better than that. Okay. There's no one on the horizon in the Democrat Party that has a plan to do better than that. It would be impossible, because all they have is, we hate Donald Trump, want to remove him from office. We hate Brett Kavanaugh, want to remove him and impeach him for some inane reason. We want to raise taxes. We want to increase regulation. We want to go back to Barack Obama. We want to socialize health care. None of that is going to make it better than what I just talked about. Job openings in the U.S. hit a record 7.1 million. That's pretty big. An indication that the U.S. economy continued to expand rapidly as the trade war with China escalated and Hurricane Florence hit the Carolinas. So a lot of jobs are opening. Monthly job openings and labor turnover survey by the Labor Department shows that a lot of people are looking for people to work. Okay? A lot of people. They're a measure of labor demand. Non-farm payrolls increased by an average of 201,000 over the last 12 months. Unemployment fell to 3.7% in September. Unbelievable. How are you going to do better there, folks? How are you going to do better? You're not. There's nothing on the left side of the political equation that is going to do better than this. It's not going to happen. Tell me, those of you who are left-leaning, tell me how it's going to get better. free college tuition that the country can't afford to pay for, free health care that the country can't afford to pay for. 35, I heard like $35 trillion over a decade for universal health care. Where's the money going to come from? How are you going to do better? You're not. The Democrat Party cannot do better. It's not possible when you consider their platform, when you consider what they want to do. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. Let's move on and talk about Elizabeth Warren's DNA test. This is just remarkable. Yesterday, Elizabeth Warren released a DNA test that provided strong evidence she's Native American, with her family tree dating back to 6 to 10 generations. Okay. It was provided to the Boston Globe in an effort to diffuse questions about her ancestry. Here's what it found. Warren could be up to 132nd Native American, but the generational range based on the ancestor that the report identified suggests that she's between 164th and 1024th Native American. Okay. I am more Velociraptor than she is Native American. This is absurd on the face of it. If you live by identity politics, you are going to die by identity politics. Elizabeth Warren was considered a person of color in academia. This is absurd. Right now, Harvard University is under fire. They have a lawsuit. Asian students are saying they're being discriminated against because the Harvard expects their standard to be higher to get in. And the reason being is there are too many Asian Americans getting into Harvard because the Asian American culture is one of academic excellence. But you see, Harvard would rather have a certain number of blacks, a certain number of Hispanics, a certain number of whatever. And then because Asians, there are too many Asians, you've got to exclude them because they're doing too well. This is where we are in this country. When we have to have a percentage of everybody in everything. Okay? I wonder, I mean, if you think about this, okay, you're going to talk about nationalities. At Google HQ, at Facebook HQ, do you suppose that there are an equal number of blacks, an equal number of women, an equal number of whatever at the helm of those organizations? Because if you do, how do I put this? Just because your country's demographics are represented in a certain way doesn't mean your company has to be. There are social dynamics going on in the country that cannot be weighed simply by nationality. Okay, there is a crisis in the African American community in inner cities. It just is. It just exists. There's the crime rate, the murder rate, 10 times higher than the national average. Academia, African Americans, unfortunately, are trailing far behind the rest of the population. Does that mean that in the higher echelons of management in companies, because African Americans represent so much of the culture, that they have to represent so much of the corporate culture? I suppose, if that's the way you want to go. But you have to have a standard as far as performance and intelligence and academic performance and et cetera, regardless of your color, regardless of your nationality, regardless of your tribe, Elizabeth Warren, to get where you want to be. So, I mean, good luck with that. Good luck with that. What about ideology? Facebook is run by leftists. The people who work at Facebook, those who are conservative, have to be on the down low. They can't speak. They can't express. You couldn't wear a MAGA hat into your Facebook office job. You'd be drummed out. You'd be fired. You'd be fired. You'd be shunned. You'd be shredded. Back to Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren has used this whole Native American thing to show that she's a woman of color, and to some degree, victimization. This is why she has decided to say that she is a Cherokee, and maybe her family has had these legends that she somehow is she has high cheekbones and she contributed to a Native American cookbook. I mean, you can identify as anything, you can identify as anything. But she has embraced this. She has used this to claim protected and possibly even victimhood status. Here is a little bit on Elizabeth Warren and her family story with regard to her being a Cherokee.
As a kid, I never asked my mom for documentation when she talked about our Native American heritage. What kid would? But I knew my father's family didn't like that she was part Cherokee and part Delaware.
Now, your family was ignorant, by the way, because you are 1/2000th, whatever. There's not a drop of there's not maybe a drop of Cherokee blood in your family. But your family, they are ignoramuses. That's been proven. They were ignoramuses. All right. That would be, well, for instance, my mom's best friend, she was part Hispanic, apparently. She never did a DNA test. But apparently there was some sort of a Hispanic name in her upbringing, and her husband never knew about it. And if she told her husband, she would have divorced him. That's what, and he would have. He would have. He fortunately is dead because he was a racist pig bastard. And he supposedly loved his wife, but she never could tell him that somebody, there was a Garcia or whatever on her family tree, he would have left her. That's just pure ass racism. That's what's going on with this family. First of all, there's no Cherokee in Delaware in her blood, and we'll get to that in a second. There's no tribal commitment in her DNA. There's nothing to show that whatsoever. Here's some more from Elizabeth Warren.
So my parents had to elope. Let me be clear.
Yes.
I never asked for or never got any benefit because of my heritage.
Yeah, but you never said, hey, listen, I'm not protected status, and hey, listen, I'm not a non-white person. I am actually a white person. Okay? There was none of that. You forwarded this myth, this bull crap. And if you say it didn't benefit you, I say bull crap. In Ivy League education, this absolutely has everything to do with it. As I mentioned earlier, we're talking about protected classes. Asians can't get into Harvard because there are too many Asians getting into Harvard because they're too excellent. You say you are a Native American and you say that isn't going to benefit you in higher education, particularly the Ivy League, that, hey, look, everybody, we got a Cherokee Indian over here. Are you out of your mind? Of course it made a difference in your career.
The people who hired me have all said they didn't even know about it. I'm Elizabeth.
Yes, they did. They published it in pamphlets. They published it in the synopsis of your credentials at the university. Everybody knew about it, Elizabeth Warren. Give me a frickin' break. You've worn it on your sleeve your entire life.
Warren, I approve this message. Scott Brown can continue attacking my family, but I'm going to keep fighting for yours.
Yeah, there you go. That's really nifty. Somebody wrote that pretty nicely, actually. That's pretty smart there. You live by identity politics, you die by identity politics. You just do. And this all is nonsense. This all is falderall. Remember Rachel Dolezal? She's this woman who was a white woman who tanned her skin and permed her hair to look black and claimed to be black. She worked on the board for the NAACP. I think it was in Washington State. Because it would benefit her. It would benefit her. It was a fantasy to some degree. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. When you put nationality or DNA in front of character and all of that, what's the point? What's the point? I did a DNA test in December, and I found my family, which is kind of cool. I'm adopted, so I found my biological family. It's pretty fascinating. I'm a Caucasoid, guys. I'm English. I'm Scandinavian. I thought I was German. I'm not German at all. I'm Scotch, Irish. In case you didn't know by the color of my skin. Well, I've got white privilege. I mean, obviously it's benefited me quite well because of white privilege, even though I've suffered untold issues in my life with regard to employment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've never been able to use it in my advantage, unfortunately. That sucks. But it's never worked. But this is all nonsense. And it really has come around in the last 25, 30 years with affirmative action, which was to some degree there for a reason because there was legitimate discrimination against people of color. But now it's become at the detriment of people who are good and quality people who are strong people who are smart people who are being condemned because of the DNA that they have. My son is a white boy, goes to college at the University of Kansas. I don't want him to be discriminated against because he's a white kid. I don't want him to be told that he has white privilege. He's paying for his college. He's busting his ass. He always has busted his ass. He's a good and decent kid. He's a good and decent man. He's a smart guy. He's compelling. He's interesting. He's vociferous. He's brilliant. And if I ever hear that he is discriminated against or held back because of his DNA, I'm going to raise holy effing hell. Because he's excellent. He is excellent. And if he can't compete with a kid who's black because the kid who is black is smarter, fine. But if he can't compete against a kid who's black or Asian or whatever because he's a white kid, bull crap. Bull crap. I will protect my children to the ends of the earth, and I will fight for them. And you know what? It's funny because my kids, to them, the concept of race and race differences for race differences is bullcrap. They don't care. But there are some people who are guilty. They are guilty. The white guilt thing, the white liberal guilt thing. We have this thing, and my friend Chris Plant, who is a talk show host, has said this. It is the tyranny of low expectations. The tyranny of low expectations. That you have to bring more black people into college because they can't do it on their own. They can't. They're too stupid. That's what the left says. Black people are so stupid, they can't get an ID and vote. They're so stupid, they're so absolutely inept, they can't bring an ID and register to vote. They're so stupid, they can't get into Harvard. So let's go ahead and bring in kids who are not performing as well academically because we need a percentage of someone because of their color or ethnicity or whatever, their DNA. And we will put these people in these institutions and we will watch them suffer and fail. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Huh. It's the racial hokey pokey. It's the racial hokey pokey. That's what it's all about. I just came up with that. Copyright Rob Carson 2018. Here's a little bit more on Elizabeth Warren. Well, here's the president talking about Elizabeth Warren and her DNA results.
sometime prior to Friday.
Since we already went off topic, Mr. President, Senator Warren released some of her DNA results that show a strong likelihood that she does have Native American roots.
How much? 1,000?
Do you owe her an apology?
No, I don't.
What about the money that
I owe her. She owes the country an apology. What's the percentage? 1,000?
I don't have the exact numbers.
Tell me when you have the percentage. Tell me what the percentage.
What about the money that you told her you would?
You mean if she gets the nomination in a debate where I was going to have her tested? I'll only do it if I can test her personally. Okay, that will not be something I enjoy doing either.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to test Elizabeth Warren either. It'd be kind of ugly. But this is so stupid. This is just so stupid. Now, here's some more video from the Elizabeth Warren story.
She said she's Native American, and I said, Pocahontas. It's Pocahontas.
Here she is going back. This is her, her campaign ad showing that she's really Native American. She's folksy and she's all this thing. She's absolutely the opposite of all of that. She's a Harvard academic. She has nothing in common with the people in Norman, Oklahoma, or where the hell she says she's from.
I apologize to you.
I believe she actually was raised in a teepee.
I apologize. To you, I apologize. To the fake Pocahontas, I won't apologize.
I hear some of you are Republicans.
I am a Republican registered.
Yeah. Oh, there.
What do you think of him calling her Pocahontas?
Well, I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think it's silly. I think it's crap.
He's talking about stuff he doesn't have any idea about.
It's offensive to me, not just as Betsy's cousin, but as a Native American.
They feel like an attack on me.
Whoa, hold on. She's a Native American. Hold on. Let me see that again.
Stuff he doesn't have any idea about.
These all look like Native Americans.
It's offensive to me, not just as Betsy's cousin, but as a Native American.
Yeah, she looks like
They feel
Native
like
American.
an attack on me and my mom, but mostly on my grandmother. And my mama's not around to defend herself.
My mother was born in eastern Oklahoma. It had been Indian territory until just a few years earlier when
She's 1,000th Native American.
It had become a state. My daddy always said he fell head over heels in love with my mother the first time he saw her.
None of them were Native Americans, by the way.
But my daddy's parents, the Herrings, were bitterly opposed to their...
Because they were ignoramuses and had no idea what the hell they were talking about. They were ignoramuses. They were racist, ignoramus morons who had nothing to base their decision on because Elizabeth Warren's parents were not Native American.
Marrying because my mother's family, the Reeds, was part Native American. This sort of discrimination...
Yeah, part, 1,000th part.
...was common at the time. So when my mama was 19...
I'm more Ostrich than she is Native American.
My daddy was 20.
This is why I like to bury my head in the sand occasionally. Just when my wife asks me to do stuff around the house.
They eloped, and together they built a family. My 3 older brothers...
They built a teepee together, and their tribe... No, actually not.
...and me. But how did Dad Herring feel about Daddy marrying Mother?
Oh, it was not the happiest time, I'm sure.
Yeah, even though there's no Indian blood in their veins, these ignorant parents didn't want him to get married because they're stupid.
I think they had a real right over that.
My family grew up on the ragged edge of the middle class.
Look at them. I mean, did you see did you just see the Indian headdress on that guy?
Brothers all went off to the military when I was just a kid. My life then took some twists and turns as life
There she is right there wearing her Indian headdress.
does. Went to college, dropped out, married at 19, went to commuter college, had a kid, graduated from law school, had another kid, got divorced, married Bruce, and started teaching.
There she
I
is.
used my mama's grit to get through commuter
And your supposed DNA because you're a Native American.
college and law school.
But not really.
I used my daddy's relentless optimism.
Yes, my God, the life you've led. You have led such a difficult life. Look at you. My God in heaven. I can't even imagine. Coal miners in the Appalachians must be going, wow, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with the stuff you had to deal with going to Harvard and stuff.
When I was balancing babies and books.
Babies and books, yeah.
But my background played no role in my hiring.
Yes.
What does Warren translate into Cherokee as? Spreading bull?
They call her Pocahontas.
No criticism from me.
You know Elizabeth Warren, right?
What most people find offensive is Senator Warren lying about her heritage to advance her career.
And she did.
Do you remember her heritage ever coming up during the hiring process?
No. Her heritage had no bearing on her hiring.
Then why did you publish the fact that she was a non-white person?
Period.
I was chairing the committee that year. If ethnicity had been part of the discussion, I would have known about it.
Her name with respect to racial minority hires? No, never.
That's nonsense. Her reputation as a teacher was stellar.
Why did she still use it?
We decided to hire her because she was the best there was on the market.
Elizabeth was revered as perhaps the best teacher on the faculty.
She is a tremendous teacher, an important scholar.
She was.
Then why couldn't she just be that as a white person?
But mocking Native Americans or any group in order to try to get it.
We're not mocking Native Americans. We're mocking you.
That's not
It's not mocking Native Americans. You mock Native Americans. You're the one who's mocking Native Americans. You made a mockery of Native Americans by saying that you're one of them. Are you kidding me? I've got the Secretary of State of the Cherokee Nation here I want to play for you. Here we go. Talking about what an insult this woman is to people who genuinely suffered. And by the way, one of the people on Elizabeth Warren's DNA side family was part of the brigade that forced Cherokees to march the Trail of Tears. I just heard that today.
Tonight, the leaders of the Cherokee Nation are speaking out against Senator Elizabeth Warren's campaign video touting her Native American ancestry, courtesy of a newly revealed DNA test. The tribe saying in part, quote, "A DNA test is useless to determine tribal citizenship." Out front now, the Secretary of State for the Cherokee Nation, Chuck Hoskin Jr. Thanks so much for joining us. Why do you find this offensive?
I love the fact that he's named Chuck. It's just a guy named Chuck. He's the Cherokee Nation Secretary of State. His name's Chuck. I think that's kind of cool. It's kind of, it's like he doesn't have to have a Native American name. He's proud of his Native American heritage, but he doesn't have to have a Native American name. It's kind of like Chuck. Chuck's kind of cool.
Jake, thanks for having me on. The problem with the DNA test is that it proves nothing of relevance to whether a person is a citizen of an Indian nation, a member of an Indian nation. DNA, at best, can give you some indicators of some markers that indicate that you're related to somebody who lived long ago that may have lived in North and South America, may have been a native peoples of those continents. It's irrelevant to what it means to be a Native American in this country. That's based on a legal definition. Certainly every tribe has that in common, that we have some legal basis for our citizenship that we determine consistent with federal treaties. Just wholly unhelpful for any national leader to cling to DNA to determine or to establish that they're Native American in this country.
Okay, so just to play devil's advocate, she said in her statement that she's not claiming that she belongs to any nation, any tribal association, that this was just about the fact that she had been told as a child that she had Native American heritage, that she had a distant relative, and she wanted to see if there was any truth to that. But still, even that you object to.
Well, because it really doesn't drill down to the issue of whether a person has Cherokee ancestry, for example, or ancestry of any particular tribe. It's useful to connect yourself with some lineage. It's useful to determine paternity, but it doesn't narrow down the scope of who your ancestors
doesn't make you a Cherokee, in other words. Cherokee people
were to any identified
Cherokee tribal
tribe.
So proud. Okay, it's an old song.
Unfortunately,
Paul Revere and the Raiders did the song in the 1970s, which is kind of insulting and just the name. Yeah.
We are sometimes a marginalized people who are not understood by mainstream society. We have trouble sometimes in the courts. We have trouble sometimes in the Congress. We need to be clear about what it means to be a Native American and Indian in this country. And it really comes down to a legal status that we, frankly, have fought long and hard for, and we're very proud of. Look, what she's doing, I think, is a response to what the President of the United States has said. And in Indian country, we're looking at Washington, D.C., and what we want is help, and we want leadership, and it's not particularly helpful to Indian.
You ain't going to find that in Washington, D.C., brother.
In country, for this kind of debate to go back and forth. We have a lot of issues. We would rather the President of the United States and Senator Warren focus in on things that affect us, housing and health care, clean water, clean air. There's a lot of issues that we could use.
Don't rely on the federal government for that. Nothing against Cherokee Nation, but come on, guys. What has the federal government done for you lately or ever?
Their leadership on, we don't think it's particularly useful to have them in a back and forth about DNA test and name calling and that sort of thing.
There's no name calling. There's just the president saying bull crap and her insulting your culture and your nation by claiming that she's a part of it.
Totally hear you on that. Obviously, the Native American community has a lot of issues that deserve more attention from leaders than whether one senator has that kind of blood. But
how about you just assimilate, be a part of it, the whole deal? How about just assimilate, be a part of the nation? Sorry, I know a lot of crap happened in the past. Nothing we can do about that now. But how about we just assimilate? How about we just be Americans?
Has any heritage, rather, has any blood from any specific group? But let me ask you a question. You brought up President Trump. I know you're offended by what Senator Warren did and her past claims.
But now we have to go to President Trump because this is CNN.
To heritage. How do you feel about President Trump calling her Pocahontas?
Should be Pocahontas, actually.
Oh, she doesn't deserve it, and I think it's a term that he means in a derisive way. And
well, it is a derisive thing, and it's also, and I'll just say this because Donald Trump, I like Donald Trump, don't worry about it. But he's a very smart man in some ways, and he's also very ignorant in others. Calling her Pocahontas is like base and stupid. If you called her Pocahontas, that'd be funny. F-A-U-X, which is false. Pocahontas is funny. Pocahontas is kind of stupid. I'll call the president out on this. By just calling her Pocahontas, you're taking a famous Native American person in history and you're calling her that. And then that's to me it reminds me of an 8th grade playground insult. So I'm gonna just say Pocahontas is stupid. Pocahontas is funny.
It's not helpful to the national debate. I mean,
unfortunately, the president doesn't understand the nuances of that humor. As much as I like him and his policies, he doesn't understand the nuances of calling someone Pocahontas versus just calling them the name of a Native American. It'd be like calling somebody Sitting Bull. It'd be like calling somebody, whatever. For that, I will not give the president credit. It's ignorant and it's insulting and stupid.
Indian country needs leaders in Washington who understand our issues, not who get in a back and forth of name calling. So I don't think the president's particularly helpful in taking those shots at Elizabeth Warren.
Native American country needs to. You can't suckle on the teat of the government. If you're a Native American country, okay, if you're a Native American people, you can't. All right, a lot of obviously injustices were done to the Native American people. Why is the Native American nation relying on the federal government for its answers? That's a problem. Okay, that is a problem. That's completely aside from everything we've talked about. That's a problem.
I don't think she's particularly helpful for going back and saying, look, I've got my DNA results, see what they show. I think what they need to do is bear down and focus on, again, those issues I touched on that affect Indian country. I mean, Indian country deserves leaders of the United States who will be champions of our issues, not fight back and forth and call each other names. So I don't think the president was particularly helpful in that regard.
Okay. Well, there's the Secretary of State of the Cherokee Nation. Listen, if Indian country relies on Washington, D.C., then nothing good's going to happen. Nothing good is going to happen. Let's see. Here is Craig Melvin on MSNBC talking about Elizabeth Warren's claim of Native American ancestry and the fact that he's probably more Native American than she is.
While I have you here, and since you did break that story today, let's talk for a moment about Elizabeth Warren, talking about politicians who gain something. Did she gain anything by putting out the DNA test results? Best I can gather, according to your papers.
Before we go into this, I think she's a laughingstock today. I could be wrong. Elizabeth Warren has embarrassed herself profoundly. That's what I think. That's what I believe. If you disagree, you can write me. CarsonOnTheRadio@gmail.com. CarsonOnTheRadio@gmail.com. She embarrassed herself profoundly.
Reporting, she's 1/1000th or something like. I mean, I think I might.
Okay, I think I've said what I just said. Okay, I don't need to justify it anymore.
Just as Native American as she is.
Thank you.
So the report that was released, that she released yesterday to the Boston Globe, said that she has a Native American ancestor who was somewhere between 10 and 6 generations back in her family. So that's going pretty far back. So
I don't know, 200 to 400 years ago.
You know,
and it doesn't matter. All right. 100 years from now, your family photos won't mean dick. They really won't. I mean, the pictures of you 200 years from now won't mean anything. You're not going to mean anything to most people. I mean, there may be some 200, 300 years from now. They'll go, oh, that's, the Rob, the guy who couldn't get a radio job, and he's my grandfather. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter that 200 or 400 or 500 years from now that Madonna was famous or David Letterman was famous. It's not going to matter. You're not going to matter. It sucks. But we live on this giant spectrum of time, and all that matters is now. All that matters is now. Our history shapes us, don't get me wrong. The Constitution is a document that is an amazing thing, and it comes from our past, but it guides our future. But you and me, we're dust in the wind. In the words of Kansas. 500 years, 1,000 years from now, the fact that Germany existed won't matter. The fact that whatever existed won't matter. That Egypt existed, it happened. What matters is now. What matters is now. What matters is this island that we're on in the spectrum of time. Wow, I'm getting all sorts of philosophical here. I'm a student of science, and I believe the Big Bang happened 15 billion years ago. Do I believe in a higher power and God? Yes, I do. I do. But we exist. If you look at the timeline of history, and by the way, there was no beginning. We've always been. It's always been. The universe and time has always been. It wasn't created. It just happened. It's always been. It's always been. It's always been. But if you look at the spectrum of since the creation of the Big Bang, whatever, and where we are now, and you put that on a timeline, we are an eyelash. The history of mankind is an eyelash on that. It is. From Greece to Egypt to the Middle Ages to the Dark Ages to colonial times to the industrial era to now, we are an eyelash on the spectrum of time. Maybe not even that. So all that matters is now. That was very profound. Thank you very much. Bravo, Rob. Hey, he looks smarter than he is smarter than he looks. But we're an eyelash. So we focus so much on our heritage, and it's nice to know our heritage. I mean, here, let me share mine. Ready? Here we go. I am England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe, 42%. I am 35% from Germanic Europe, so I guess I am German. I am 21% from Ireland and Scotland, and I am 2% from Scandinavia. That's me. So there you go. That's me. And it doesn't matter. It's nice. Great if I go back to England and Wales or whatever, I'm going to look like other people, but I don't, I'm not going to go into a pub and go, hey, well, I'm going to be English. Hold on. Well, I think I'll have a pint of ale then. No, that's Irish, actually. Scottish would be like, I'd like a pint of ale. Give me a beat. English would be like, I think I'd rather have a beer. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I could go into a bar and go, hey, look, I look like you. Congratulations. Can I get a discount? Do I get a discount like the AARP discount? Do I get that? Let's play a little bit more from this story, and then we'll move on to some other stuff here. Wow, did I totally get it? I mean, like majorly philosophical there.
It's a law. I don't know who my great-great-great-great-grandmother or grandfather is.
And it doesn't matter.
But at the same time, it bolsters...
They didn't know you. They have no connection to you. They're just old pictures.
It provides the first actual documentary proof of this thing that she has been saying, which is that she had Native American, stories of Native American lore in her family. And up until now, looking at...
She had stories of Native American lore in her family, which were just made up bullcrap.
Certificates, looking at marriage certificates, looking at Indian roles. You've just seen nothing.
Are you seeing the nonsense? Are you seeing why this doesn't matter at all? Are you seeing the nonsense here?
So this is the very first time there is some evidence that, look, hey, somebody in the family
screwed somebody who happened to be Native American, I guess.
Probably was Native American. Yeah. Indeed was. Wait.
It's just such nonsense. It's such bullcrap. Sitting bullcrap is what it is. Let's see what else I have here. A couple more things here. Here's Bree Payton. No, that's different. That's something else. That's another story. That is another story. Here's Ann Linsky on MSNBC talking about Elizabeth Warren's Native American heritage.
While I have you here, and since you did break that story today,
actually,
let's talk for a moment.
So I'm going to get rid of that because I just played it. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Do I have any more? Oh, yes, Molly Hemingway on Fox News talking about it.
Why can't Dems ever stay focused?
Well, and maybe she thought she was burying the news by doing it at this point in time. It's not great news for someone who had her ethnicity changed from white to Native American when she was at the university.
No, I thought, here's the thing. The reason why she did it with the Boston Globe and the reason why she did it Monday, it wasn't burying it. It was announcing, I have Native American blood. Now that we've learned about this DNA test, and I mean, what were you thinking, girl? You were better off just saying that you're Native American, not doing a DNA test, because the fact that you're only 1/1000th Native American makes you look like a complete doofus, makes you look like a complete idiot. This is a major, like great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather fail. This is a faceplant on her part.
Pennsylvania, who Harvard Law trotted out as an example of how good they were with diverse hiring, who said that her mother couldn't marry her dad in a normal wedding ceremony because her grandparents were aghast about how Native American, how Cherokee her mother was. So as far as her actual stories go, this rollout that she did today completely blows up everything she has ever said about the matter. Yes. She was not saying that she had roughly the same percentage of Native American ancestry that any other average white American does. She was saying that she was Native American, and not just Native American, but Cherokee. This does not help that.
No, it does not. It makes her look like an idiot. It makes her look like an idiot. It does. All right. Where did I go here today? My Lord in heaven, we had just a lot of stuff going on here. Do I want to cover Hillary and Monica? Yeah. Hillary Clinton over the weekend had an interview and she talked about how that Bill Clinton not resigning from the White House when it was revealed he had an affair with Monica Lewinsky. It was not something that would require him to resign because she was an adult. And this is one of the reasons why she lost the election. This is why she is damaged goods and she will never, ever, ever be the president. She won't. I hate to tell you this. She's never going to be the president. Ever, ever, ever. Seriously. If all the other Democrat candidates died, she'd never be the president. I hate to tell you, but you got to move on. Here's a little bit from that story this weekend.
Thanks, Brian. Well, she claims to be a staunch defender of women in the Me Too movement, but when it comes to her husband's affair with a White House intern, here's what she has to say.
In retrospect, do you think Bill should have resigned in the wake of the Monica Lewinsky scandal?
Absolutely not.
It wasn't an abuse of power?
No.
There are people who look at the incidents of the 90s and they say a president of the United
incidents of the 90s, your husband was banging a 22-year-old intern.
States
might have been 21.
Cannot have a consensual relationship with an intern.
Actually, probably not a bad scenario if you're going to watch a pornographic movie.
Power imbalance is too
Who was
great.
an adult.
Here to react, a staff writer for The Federalist, Bree Payton. Bree, do you agree with her?
Absolutely not. Everything that she said was absolutely wrong. Of course, Bill Clinton accused his power when he had an affair.
Accused his power or abused? Okay.
With Monica Lewinsky. Sure, she was an adult, but, when you take power imbalances like someone being the president of the United States and someone being an intern, she wrote herself in a Vanity Fair article that kind of renders consent moot, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Most powerful man on the planet versus somebody who licks envelopes. And other things.
Patently obvious that he abused the power of the Oval Office, and for Hillary Clinton to still be in denial of that, 20 years later now, I mean...
She was a yo-yo. She was a play toy. She was a little cat toy. That's what she was to Bill Clinton. She was a piece of ass. Let's just say it. Monica Lewinsky was a piece of ass.
Show you why she lost.
God, if I were her parents, I would want to beat him to death. Or at least smack him upside the head.
November of 2016.
What do you think?
Can you imagine being the parents of Monica Lewinsky? You send your daughter off, and I've got a nephew who did an internship on Capitol Hill. Can you imagine sending your daughter off to Capitol Hill? She catches the eye of the president, who sees her as a piece of ass and uses her for that. How would you feel?
Should be saying if it were a Republican president we were talking about and not her husband.
Oh, I think we would absolutely be hearing a complete 180 on this. And in this sense, unfortunately, Hillary Clinton really embodies the Me Too movement, which sends the message that, if you're a woman, you're only going to be listened to if your story of victimhood pushes a certain ideological narrative, right? Just a couple of weeks ago here in Washington, D.C., a few blocks from the Washington, D.C. bureau here, Juanita Broaddrick was outside of the Supreme Court, and she was protesting in favor of...
But nobody focused cameras on her.
Kavanaugh. And, when one of my friends spoke with...
She's never going to be president.
She said that a lot of the same senators who are bending over backwards to accommodate...
Or forward.
And make Christine Blasey Ford feel comfortable were the same senators who refused to read her deposition in 1999 outlining the abuse that she suffered at the hands of Bill Clinton.
Do you think that she should still be forced to answer these types of questions, though? Because, she's an innocent victim in this. It was her husband, Monica.
Depending on your political ideology, you could be all sorts of rapey. I mean, seriously. Bill Clinton could be all sorts of rapey. He's a Democrat and a man of power. You can do all sorts of stuff with power, Harvey Weinstein.
Lewinsky, and there's some other women that have come out. There's
Matt Lauer,
Paula Jones, Juanita Broaddrick, Kathleen Wiley.
Yeah, I mean, certainly...
And they're not even politicians.
We should not be holding Hillary Clinton responsible for her husband's actions. I mean, she's responsible for what she says and what she does. And what she said here is that, what she said here is problematic. And I think for us to be talking about it is important. And it's important for us to, if we're going to believe all women, we should believe all women, right? The standard should apply and should be the same across the board.
Okay, I'm done. Jeez. Yeah. Honestly. She's never going to be president. It's not going to happen. She's an awful person. Her husband's an awful person. There you go. They're just awful people. Gosh, I wish I could be so awful and be so successful. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm a bad person, and I'm not very successful. All right. Republican National Committee has released a new ad on Thursday, I guess, highlighting the left as an unhinged mob. And they are. Here's the ad.
When they go low, we kick.
And if you see anybody
in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station. You get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
This is what you want, and it's coming to fruition.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
Like killing babies in the womb, stuff like that.
And please get up in the face of some Congress people.
Is this the quote-unquote mob?
It is the mob. The left is an unhinged mob. But the really cool thing is that we are better armed physically and intellectually and morally, to be quite honest. So there you go. All right. What else should we do? I got a couple other little stories I want to do. Oh, this is the price of real estate in Southern California. I just thought this is completely a non sequitur, not related to anything we've talked about. But right now, San Francisco, Palo Alto, all these places in California are completely screwed with regard to real estate prices. I lived in Washington, D.C. We bought a house that was a $2,000 little sugar or 2,000 square foot sugar cube for a lot of money. Lost our asses on it. This is what $2 million will buy you in Southern California, provided it'll play. Here we go. Okay, let's try it again. All righty. No, it doesn't want to play. Hold on one second. Let me take it off. Hold on. It doesn't want to play. Gosh darn it. I apologize greatly. So much for that piece of video. It was a $2 million house. It was like 1,200 square feet. Whatever. Final story, kind of interesting and terrifying and horrible, actually, at the same time. Police are investigating disturbing report that a high school student made cookies for his classmates, gave them to 9 students. A problem with the cookies was that he made the batter that included the ashes of one of the student's grandparents. Ouch. Police say the cookies in question were sugar cookies that the student brought to campus. Davis Police Lieutenant Paul Dusharoff said, "This is a weird one. I've not heard of anyone getting sick or anybody being harmed as far as physically. Psychologically by this, well, yeah, I think I would be. Police are working to confirm that the 2 high school students were part of the morbid plan. Apparently, they're going to have to figure out what sort of crime they should be charged with." Ucky! All right. Wow, that was weird. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me. If you would, please, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, check out Spreely.tv and become a member. Okay, a member of Spreely.com. All right, it's just like Facebook, but it is not. There's no chance of you being ghosted. There's no chance of you being shadow banned because of your politics. It's brilliant, and by God, move to Spreely.com from Facebook, please. Move from Twitter to Spreely.com, please. Do this. It's important. It's important. The followings of 14 million people were vaporized by Facebook last week because 28 sites had a political bent that Facebook did not agree with. By God, we've got to fight back against this. We've been misled, we've been mischaracterized, and we've been scammed. Spreely.com. Become a member. Follow me, Rob Carson. Spreely.com. God bless you guys. Thank you for watching. Be strong, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now.